Breaking news from the Cleveland Guardians, 9 days away from opening day. They will have an opening day starter.
Tanner Bagger, the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
No, really, they will have an opening day starter. Stephen Vogt said before Monday's contest in Arizona that they haven't named an opening day starter, but they will have one, he promises. So the Guardians will have an opening day starter. Someone will pitch for the Cleveland Guardians on opening day. So that's always good to hear. On today's episode of Locked On Guardians, thank you for tuning in. We're talking about the middle of the Guardians order. How are they going to replace Josh Naylor? Is Kyle Manzardo or Carlos Santana ready to step up and take that mantle? We'll discuss that, who the future at first base is going to be, all that fun stuff on today's Locked On Guardians. Before we get the ball rolling, 9 days away from opening day, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today, every day, wherever you get podcasts. It is the best half hour of the day. We're talking Cleveland Guardians for the next 30 minutes. Thank you for joining us, and tell a friend to join. I'm Justin Ladd. I've been covering the Guardians minor league system since 2007. I cannot wait to get the next year started. I can't remember count what year it's been. This will be 18 years then, I think, covering the minor league system. It's been a long time. Guardians Baseball Insider, News Herald, Morning Journal, Next Year in Cleveland, Prospects Live, all places where you could have read my work, should be reading my work if you love Guardians content and Guardians prospect content at that.
And I am Jeff Ellis. Used to be a draft and prospect analyst at Scout and 24/7. I was featured on the John Stash Hour show on ESPN. On top of that, I've written for every Cleveland sports blog that ever existed, and I'll pull this one out from a long time ago, and I am your fifth favorite sports blogger at those blogs. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to all of our everydayers. We got some fun today. We have some hidden questions we didn't share. At least I have a question I didn't share with Justin, so I'll put him on the spot at one point in the show today. This first base situation, I was telling Justin before we began, it's going to be a lot of fun to discuss because there's two different players at two different ends of their careers. And, I think there's actually a lot of optimism.
I think there is. I think it's a little bit based off of recency bias. Like the last we saw of Kyle Manzardo, who, is having a great spring, whatever you want to call that. He had a great postseason. He was one of the heroes of the postseason. Had a great series against Detroit when he was allowed to hit. He had a big home run, I think, in the Yankees series, the game they won early on. So a lot of it's going to be recency bias, and this might be a trade they have a chance to win with Tampa Bay Rays. First off the bat, the Guardians have not won a lot of trades with Tampa Bay Rays, so Kyle Manzardo is one of the guys that might. I think the real question, though, for the Guardians this year is, replacing Josh Naylor is going to be, I don't want to say difficult. It's going to be difficult in a lot of different ways. Josh Naylor was definitely a guy who was well thought of in the clubhouse and, enjoyed some really good stretches at first base.
This is one where you and I will disagree.
Yeah, I know. I think we agree on the fact that Josh Naylor was a very streaky player, but the highs for him were higher than I think we're going to see from Carlos Santana. I fully accept we're going to agree on this. The highs from
yes,
Carlos Santana and Kyle Manzardo probably won't be as high as Josh Naylor. I think when you're talking terms, I think
Manzardo could be higher. I think Manzardo could be higher in hot stretches.
Either way, do we expect? I think the way the lineup's shaking out right now, I think third against lefties might be Lane Thomas and Carlos Santana hitting fourth, and I think against righties it'll be Manzardo third and maybe Santana fourth. Looks like Santana's going to move into that fourth spot no matter what because they're going to move Jose Ramirez up to the second spot, which we both agree with, by the way. We both agree with Jose Ramirez hitting second. We'll talk about that in a future episode and how long the Guardians are going to stick with that. But more important to the Guardians' success this year in the middle of the order is it. I guess you can say both if you want to cop out, but let's just say who's more important. Pick one. Is it Kyle Manzardo who's more important in the middle of the order for the Guardians, or is it Carlos Santana?
I'm going to say Carlos Santana. And the reason for that is I think he's an everyday player. There's a lot of people when they signed him, we're like, oh, is this a platoon with Manzardo? It's like, no, you didn't pay him all of that money. This team can't afford a $12 million platoon. So Santana is going to play against lefties and righties. Manzardo is probably going to be in a platoon situation early on. Now that is, about 20% of the games, 20% of the plate appearances type of situation. And, Manzardo is probably going to be the DH. He is moving into a position that outside of David Fry's like 3 hot months was kind of a disaster for this team a year ago. Where Santana is moving in now. Again, Naylor had a fantastic first half and kind of he was league average to below league average. I want to say it was like a 100 WRC plus in the second half. It was not good for Josh. On top of like the health issues and the postseason. I mean, one of the worst postseasons I think I've ever seen for a hitter with Naylor. So when I look at it, I think Santana has the chance to make the bigger impact just because he's going to play more.
He has to play more. I think. Yeah. I mean, Santana has to play more. He's a guy who focuses on keeping his body ready to play every day, and he's continually beating Father Time, which is great for Santana. I think Santana will do a good job stepping up in the leadership role for Josh.
Yeah,
for Josh
that
Naylor.
As well.
That was kind of where big thing. So I think the Guardians made a smart move on that part. But I think overall, to me, I think at this stage of his career, Kyle Manzardo's got more power, and I think he needs to play against lefties every day. I don't think you're going to get the upside with Carlos Santana in the middle of the order. You're going to get Kyle Manzardo. So I would say that Kyle Manzardo is probably the more important hitter in the middle of that order for the Guardians. He's not going to have, we talked about this before, he's not going to have a platoon partner to start the year. There's no David Fry. So, yes, in theory, you could move John Kenson to DH against lefties, sit Manzardo, and play like a Tyler Freeman in the outfield and
do you know who had the better bat speed a year ago between Manzardo and Santana?
Probably Santana, if you're bringing it up from that angle. Yeah.
It was a trick question. They were tied. They had the exact same bat speed a year ago. Santana did have a slightly higher hard hit percentage, but they had the same bat speed a year ago. So that's interesting. Just a fun little tidbit.
Before the show, you posed an interesting question too. Was how much should the Guardians kind of rely on Kyle Manzardo? Because you were talking about, it seems like there's a lot of expectations for him. I'm really excited about Kyle Manzardo's season. Again, I'm on Team Manzardo. I want to see him play against left-handers as much as possible. Again, you don't have to play him against Garrett Crochet or Chris Sale or Tarek Skubal, but there are lefties out there you can play him against and ease him in. I think they absolutely should, because I think he is crucial to this team season, especially early on without David Fry. You got to see if he's going to be able to handle that, especially if he thinks he wants to be the first baseman in the future, because this is probably only a 1-year reunion with Carlos Santana at this point.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing, and again, I want to say I am as well Team Manzardo. Don't come after me. I mean, I was the one out there screaming there was a fantastic deal when they made it for Savale. I remember you and I were in the minority with the anger at the time when they went out and made that move. But the one thing with him is he was great when he came up the second time, but overall, like the experience last year was an up and down affair. And it's just interesting because a lot of us, myself, I feel like to a degree included, are kind of just banking on him being the dude and stepping in and being that above average bat. And we talked about how many times on the show, like development isn't linear, until a guy's really proven, you can't say that. And it's just interesting because we are putting a lot of faith in him when so far we're, it's the same thing with people who are like ready to anoint Rocchio. We haven't, and listen, they both look good in spring, but we've also talked about the issues with putting a little too much value in spring. And I'm not saying this to say he's going to be bad or anything. I just think it's interesting how quick we are, specifically with Manzardo, to act like this is a player who's arrived. And I don't know if we can say that he has arrived yet. He could, he absolutely might have, but I just think we can't 100% state that. Like, I just feel like he is still a bit of an unknown, if we are honest with ourselves. Now, I think he's going to be good. I've always thought he's more hit over power. He actually has. I was gonna say there's some Santana with him, but not really. It's like it's different approaches and hit styles. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if like his power throughout his career is not dissimilar to like Santana, with like mid-20s to hitting or going a little over 30. Like, I think that there is some room for similarity. I am buying in. I was kind of looking at some of his StatCast bat tracking, and I'll be curious to see how this goes last year, because his bat speed was slightly above league average, but his swing length was a little low. His contact rate was high. A lot of his stuff was just about average, which is not bad for a rookie. Like, you kind of expect them to have a worse contact rate than the league. You expect them, and he was better. Like, he has a lot of positive signs. So I don't want this people to come off thinking I'm not saying that he is not going to be good. He could be excellent. I'm just saying it's interesting how many people are acting like he is a sure thing.
Yeah, I don't think at all Kyle Manzardo is a sure thing, but I do think we saw enough in the second half from him to believe that he is going to be closer to that player than the first half. I don't think there's any chance he's as bad as he was in the first half when he hit, 207, 241, 329, 873 OPS in the second half, which was all September, obviously. We're talking 18 games. So obviously that's a small sample size, but it's not really much smaller than what he did in the first half. 300 batting average on balls in play, so not a ridiculous average on balls in play in the second half. In the second half, you looked at him too. The strikeout rate and the walk rate were largely unchanged. Those two halves. I'm sorry, that's lefty versus righty, which actually is interesting. But second half strikeout rate was 26%. The walk rate in the first half was 3%, and in the second half it was almost 9%. So the walk rate went up in the second half. The BABIP went up a little bit, but in a reasonable level. You saw more power to the pull side. I mean, we're talking about the same amount. We're actually less fly balls, but more pull fly balls to the right side in the second half. So first half, Manzardo, 30% pull rate. Second half, 48% pull rate. So that's a guy who figured out. And I think the key thing, too, these are some of the unknowns with hitters that are young hitters that we don't really talk about. Like, we love to sit here and talk about contact rate and launch angle and pull fly ball rate. I 100% believe this. Stephen Vogt talked about how Kyle Manzardo went to AAA and he worked on his routines as a DH. People think, oh, it's easy to DH because all you got to do is hit. But there are things that you go into the field and you can forget about your last at bat and you're not on your feet. You're not staying, loose and going to play a position, taking your mind off of things. So the mental side of being a player who's not used to DHing and being a young player, it's fine when you're Carlos Santana's age, even though he likes to play every day. It's fine when you're 39 to DH every day because you've been in the league for 20 years or 15 years. Manzardo hasn't been around that long, and the routines as a DH is a big thing. So I 100% believe that was a contributor to his success last year, and I think that's something he'll be able to carry over this year because I think largely he will be a DH once again. We're going to talk more about Carlos Santana in just a second. We're also going to talk about the future of first base. Is Kyle Manzardo the future at first base? There's guys coming behind him. Is he going to solidify his spot this year? We'll talk about that next.
But first, we have a brand new sponsor, and I want to, not only talk about it, but show it here. I am drinking from Just Ingredients right now. When it comes to fueling your body, quality matters. That's why Just Ingredients is changing the game with clean, high-quality products designed to support better health and peak performance. Just Ingredients offers an NSF-certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, and creatine, all rigorously tested to ensure they're free from substances banned by major athletic organizations. Just Ingredients has been partnered with two-time MVP Bryce Harper, who trusts the NSF certified sports line to fuel his training and recovery. So I got to be honest, I'm typically not a fan of pea protein, and that's one of the things in this, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. It has a bit of a frosty texture. This is the chocolate. As someone who has gluten issues, I appreciate how transparent they are. It says right on, and with multiple family members with allergies, what's involved, what is in there, and I'll drink it on air. It's delicious. The only thing wrong with this is I didn't blend it long enough, so there's too many big chunks of ice. That's not their fault. That's me being a fool. It's a great product. I am enjoying it quite a bit. Check out Just Ingredients for yourself. Go to justingredients.us/Bryce Harper and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for 20% off your order. And for more wellness tips, follow at Just Ingredients, just.ingredients on Instagram.
You ever wonder where your money goes? Looking this time of year, I'm looking to look at my streaming services right now because the NCAA tournament's coming up, right? And I'm looking to see, okay, what streaming services do I have? Can I cancel some? Can I add some? I want to watch these games. A lot of that, including online shopping, entertainment, very easy to lose track of when it comes to money. That is where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO. It gives you full visibility and control of your finances, so you can track things like what streaming services you're paying for. There's so many right now to keep up with, right? And it's not just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. So you can track all those accounts you have out there. You can track investments, all spending in one place. So you stop managing your money and start building wealth. Things I always like to track too. Multiple apps are very hard to keep track of when it comes to spending. I have online banking, honestly, but I need an app like Monarch Money to help me track certain things because I do have multiple accounts and I do have a lot of streaming services out there that I pay for both personally and professionally. And I want to do a better job of planning my long-term financial goals. So Monarch Money is a big place to go to help out with that. So take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. You're going to use our code LOCKEDINLB at monarchmoney.com. You're going to get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDINLB for half off your very first year. Appreciate all of you making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever you get podcasts. We're so happy you're here with us. We're talking Guardians first baseman, DH, the future of the middle of the order for the Guardians, a position they really haven't solidified in the last several years. If you like what you're hearing, if you want more content, we've got a lot going on in our insiders group. I was texting them about the Monday's game, Tanner Bybee. I was talking about what to expect from Tanner Bybee, the lineup on opening day, the joke about the opening day starter. We're doing bonus episodes for our insiders. We're doing mailbags for only for our subscribers. So check things out over there. Prospect rankings are up over there for me. I know Jeff's going to add his soon. Some draft stuff's up there if you want to be over there. And make sure you're downloading every day on the regular content too. We're here on YouTube 5 days a week. We're here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Podcast Addict, all the places you listen to podcasts. We're here 5 days a week. So make sure you're auto downloading, whether it's audio or video, so you never miss an episode. We appreciate all of you guys for listening. All right, Carlos Santana. We talked about Kyle Manzardo a little bit. I am going to say I'm very high on Kyle Manzardo. I think he's going to have a great year. And I think he is, maybe the third most important Guardian, second most important Guardian, not named Jose Ramirez. There's Stephen Kwan. I said before, Bo Naylor is a huge key to this team. But Carlos Santana, they signed him to. I think it's important to say they didn't sign Carlos Santana to make up for Josh Naylor, right? Like, I don't think we're sitting here saying that, Carlos Santana is going to hit 31 home runs and he's going to be a better defender. He's going to walk a little more. That's important. I think that's a key piece of this Guardians offseason, right? Is that I don't think Juan Brito is going to be the opening day second baseman, but I think there's a good chance we see him at some point. Moving on from Andrés Giménez was obviously a partial financial decision, and it was also a similar situation for Josh Naylor, knowing he was going to be a free agent soon and wanting to get something for him. But I really think this team wanted to add a little more patience to the lineup. I think this is a team that was kind of a hacker group last year. They didn't walk a ton. So I think having Santana in the lineup is going to help with that a little bit. Gabriel Arias being the opening day second baseman more than likely probably won't, but Santana's a good start. Hopefully Brito will. I think the question with Santana is going to be this is a guy throughout his career who has just not been a good early season hitter, right? Like, he's a guy who struggles in the month of April and May, and then he really gets things going in the middle of summer. So the question I think we're going to have to deal with most of the year is April and May. If Santana starts out slow, is this going to be a father time question, or is this going to be he's 39. Is this kind of the end of the line for him?
Yeah, I'll say this when people want to talk about like end of the line and age with him. I was telling Justin before we went on air that like his bat speed actually went up from age 37 to age 38. Like, this is a player that the reason he's lasted as long as he has is because of, the work he puts in. It's kind of funny to think back when people were kind of negative about him when he came up and with, work ethic or talk of that. It's like the reason he's still in the league is like he works so hard. And I'll say the other thing too that he will give you over Naylor is consistency. Naylor's ups were up, but his downs were down. And he was a player who's successful with that high contact rate that they kind of went all in on. But the problem with high contact rate guys who don't have a strong secondary like walk rate or something to go with it is that when a guy scuffles, which Naylor did, it can get not as great. Santana, March and April, he has a 76 weighted runs created plus for his career. August is a 99. Every other month is at least a 108 or better. He is, and he crushes it in June. That's the interesting. That's a 174. I think, I do think he is a replacement for Naylor because it was a 1-for-1. Like it was a one, but I also think we talked last year how much they needed to have someone who could walk more. Naylor hit, 30 how many home runs did he have last year?
31.
31. It's like, wasn't that his first time over 30? Like for
Yes,
as much
his career high was actually 20, so he went way above his career
so
high.
it's like at the same time we talk about replacing, it's like Santana's he was 20, 17, and 31. He's only gone over 20 home runs twice. So for as much as we talk about Naylor, it's like, are we like 30? I mean, he's going to Arizona, so he'll hit a ton this year. But there's also the assumption that was, that he was going to reproduce another 31 in Cleveland. I don't know if you could state that. Like there's definitely a place where you could look at Santana as someone who's going to walk more, give you better defense, and might hit the same number of home runs in a neutral environment in Cleveland. Like he had 20 last year, I want to say. So, I mean, Naylor has better power, don't get me wrong, but I think, it's a situation where they knew they were going to have to pay Carlos Santana more money than they were going to pay Josh Naylor, and they decided to go do that, which I think speaks volumes as well.
I still am very surprised by that, if I'm being honest. I guess you're right. And in their trade evaluations for moving him, and Chris Antonetti said that the only reason they actually went ahead with the Josh Naylor trade is because they were able to get Carlos Santana to agree to come back. He turned down a 2-year deal, I think, from Seattle. A 2-year deal. So he came back here intentionally, and Chris Antonetti says that was the reason that
he became really good friends with Julio Rodriguez in a short time there. Was a leader to the young players, like still talks with Julio, and that was one of the main reasons he was going to go. And Seattle, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like we talked about this, when Cleveland shipped Naylor to Arizona and signed Santana, it devastated the first base market. Like it took out the last legs on that. I mean,
it went very quick.
Yeah. I mean, Minnesota it says Ty France is going to start for them, who has been bad 2 years in a row. Like Seattle went out and kept I'm blanking Jorge Polanco, and are going to have him play first base. That's not the production you want at first base. It's interesting. So I have this question to throw to you, Justin. I was going through and looking at some stuff.
Pop quizzes
Here. Well, it's not even a pop quiz. This is more of a when this season ends. It'll be his 11th in Cleveland. Carlos Santana, does he deserve to have his number retired?
Ooh, that is.
And I'll throw some stuff. So at the end of this year, he's going to pass Manny Ramirez, and more than likely Manny Ramirez and Omar Vizquel in all-time WAR in this organization. He's already second in walks, but he's going to, like, in terms of runs scored, he's going to move into the top 10. He's going to move in like extra total bases. He is going to be moving into the top 10 before this year is done. Home runs, if he hits 21 home runs this year, he'll be fourth all time in home runs behind Tommy, Ramirez, and Bell. Like that's where he's going to be. Like he's top 5, top 10 in a lot of stat categories.
So the easy answer is no, he's not going to have his number retired because the Guardians have never retired a number outside of, I want to say, is it Bob Lemon who's not in the Hall of Fame? Is Bob Lemon a Hall of Famer? There's a pitcher. I think he is.
No, I think it's Mel Harder, right?
Mel Harder. I'm sorry. I always get those two confused. So Mel Harder's number is retired by the Guardians, right, by the Cleveland team. He is not in the MLB Hall of Fame. He is the only current member of the Cleveland baseball number retired that is not in the Hall of Fame. So the easy answer for this is Carlos Santana will not have his number retired by the Cleveland Guardians. Should he be in the Guardians Hall of Fame on center field at the park out there? Absolutely. I think Carlos Santana is definitely a future Cleveland Guardians Hall of Famer. That's bar none question. I think he exemplifies the character. He's been here during winning times. He's been an all-star. He was an all-star the first year he came back, the second time around. So yeah, the easy answer to that question is yes, but no, he will not be getting his number retired. All right. We have to talk about one guy who's missing from the order who played first base last year. And we'll talk about if there's other guys that can push guys like Kyle Manzardo for the future at first base. All coming up next. If you're looking to buy supplies that you need in the skilled trades, get the supplies you need from the sites made for the skilled trades. That is Supply House. If you're in plumbing, HVAC, or you're doing electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way for you to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources, and you can get the latest product info to help you get the job done right all the time. Plus, they have a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands. You're going to find exactly what you need. It's going to be delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support. They have industry-leading service, so you can always talk to a real person. You're not talking to AI. You're not talking to any kind of phone program. You're not chatting. It's a real person every time. So this is for trade pros who are looking for an extra edge. Their free Trade Master program gives you free perks like a dedicated phone line for your business, free shipping, discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage of this offer. So now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. Start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That is supplyhouse.com.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Back to your Cleveland Guardians every day. Jeff, the one guy we didn't really talk about in the first base equation between Manzardo and Santana is David Fry. David Fry obviously played some first base last year, mostly first base, and then DH after the elbow issue. The Guardians last year, if you're curious, as exclusively a DH, 98 WRC plus. That's 20th in baseball. So the DH position, just with Kyle Manzardo playing every day, and you've talked about this before, should get better automatically, right? Because before David Fry, I mean, to be fair, the roster was better last year with David Fry being able to catch, play first base. I think he played some right field. It's not going to be as versatile this year, which I think is a big step, is a big problem for them, which we'll have to address. But in terms of DH specifically, you're not DHing Estevan Florial every day. You're not DHing Gabriel Arias. You're not DHing Ramon Laureano, whatever it was in April or May, right? Like Jose Ramirez is going to DH once a week or whatever. And he had very, very strangely, Jose Ramirez did not hit well DH, whatever. So DH is going to see an improvement. But the question I think is David Fry when he comes back, which we're hoping June, right? And all he can do is DH. That does give Kyle Manzardo some runway to A, prove himself, I think, a little bit. B, one of my friends that I went to college with that knows baseball very well, he asked me, he goes, is David Fry, is he going to be Brian LaHair? And I was like, that's a really good question, honestly, because Brian LaHair had a very late career breakout. I remember one time Cleveland Indian, Brian LaHair, who's now a coach with the Reds, ironically enough.
I always
he was an all-star his rookie year.
A terrible Jim Bowden trade involving him.
I'm probably one of many for Jim Bowden, truthfully. So, I think that's fair to worry. Is David Fry going to be able to repeat this? I don't see any problem with David Fry hitting lefties. Will he recreate it against righties? I don't know. I don't think there'll be as big an issue coming back from Tommy John. But, I think asking him to do what he did every day a year ago in terms against right-handers might be a bit much. I'm not worried about him against lefties.
I'm worried about him in general. I just got to be honest, because if you go through the data month by month, he had a 160 WRC plus, a 253, an 89, a 58, a 98, and a 105. The 160 was at a 406 BABIP, a 381 for the 253. And then the bad months, he was still at a 327, a 295 when he had a 58. He was having positive ball contact, which go ahead, have fun with that, listeners. He was making solid contact and not getting results. And yes, we can say the injury could have been some derail. I think it is very interesting. He's another guy where how much faith is put in him after the month of May, he was almost a negative contributor for this team. The second half, he started to bounce back in September, but again, a 353 BABIP. He is not a fast guy. And we talked about Luis Arez is the king of BABIP at 350, who also, has that's not David Fry. Last year at this time, we spent, or maybe 18 months at this time, we're talking about how Nolan Jones and Will Benson were BABIP kings and that was going to regress. All the positives with David Fry are tied to wholly unsustainable BABIPs. To the extreme end of it. And like, I'm not saying he can't be useful, but I think, the all-star chatter and the things like that were Brian LaHare. I do think that he's probably going to hit lefties. I don't think he's going to be this savior that some people make him out to be. Like, he's going to have value when he can play multiple positions and be that dude and hit and crush lefties. And I do agree with you there, but I think I do not see an everyday player.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenging year for Fry for sure, because it's going to be all beyond the bat, right? When he comes back, because he can't play a position, and a lot of the value he provided was catcher, was first base, was right field if he could. Now it's just DH. So I think I'll ease him back in. I don't have worries about him against lefties. I'm sure there'll be an adjustment period coming back from being injured and missing spring training. That's always difficult, but he's always hit lefties in the minors. That's always been the role that it seemed very likely for him. So I think he still fills that role for the Guardians. Are we asking him to be an all-star again? I think that is probably unrealistic. Because, like you said, after that first half, starting in July, he was almost unplayable. I mean, 58 WRC plus in July, 89 in June was playable. He started to walk a little bit less. It's very hard to know how much the impact of the elbow issue had on him.
Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah, the funny thing is, if you look at that, he was still hitting lefties well during that time. If you drill down the splits, he still hit lefties well after the injury. He stopped hitting righties after the injury, and I have a hard time believing that your elbow affects how good you are against one side of the plate when you're always hitting. Like, it'd be one thing if he was a switch hitter, right? But he's not a switch hitter, so I have a hard time believing the elbow injury affected him being able to hit righties less and still be able to hit lefties. I think it was just natural regression from a really good first half. So I'm not worried against lefties. Obviously, he's not going to make the All-Star team this year because we went back till June, but I still feel like David Fry plays a valuable role in this team. And I still think you can expect him to be a guy that's going to do damage against lefties. And that's valuable for this team.
No, I agree with you.
Derek Schoolwich, you're still going to face Garrett Crochet. You're still going to face Cole Reagan. So you're going to need that guy at this point this year.
Yeah.
All right, before we get out of here, Jeff,
I just wanted to throw this in. The one last thing on that is teams adjusted, right? The BABIP went down and the walk rate was like cut by almost 2/3. So teams adjusted, and the walk rate wouldn't be because of the gimpy elbow. If anything, he should be walking more, not less. So I think I agree with you. It's like he's still going to have that value, but I wouldn't expect the guy we saw for the first 3 months ever again.
I will say one more thing on Carlos Santana that we didn't talk about that you've brought up before that I think is important to continue re-emphasizing, as you brought up the changes he continues to make, right? Like, remember he switched last year from he switched his toe tap. Like, he's now got that more, and he's adjusted as he's gotten older. That's something other guys can learn from too. So there are signs that Carlos Santana is still making adjustments at this stage of his career, and David Fry is going to do that too. All right.
Yeah.
Is Kyle Manzardo the future at first base? Because the Guardians do have Ralphie Velazquez. They do have CJ Kayfus, who's my number 10 prospect. Just going to throw that out there. I just did a quick short on him. Check that out. Kyle Manzardo, is this? It's not a make or break.
Luis Morejo at first base.
There is Luis Morejo. Yeah. I mean, okay, let's talk more immediate, because CJ Kayfus should start the year AAA. This is maybe going to be a surprising take. I think that Kyle Manzardo is the future at first base. I think Ralphie Velazquez got to play left field in spring training, and he's a couple ways away. I do not think CJ Kayfus is going to push him for first base. I think CJ Kayfus ends up being a nice prospect. The thing is, he doesn't hit the ball as hard as Manzardo, and he's a better defender at first base. I know a lot of people want to say, can CJ Kayfus play the outfield? I look at CJ Kayfus as a guy who is a first baseman who can stand in the outfield, not really a guy who should be playing the outfield. I think for Cleveland's sake, I think CJ Kayfus I think you want to hope that he is more attractive as a trade prospect than anything else. Now, I'm not saying he won't be a good future major leaguer. My question with CJ Kayfus is there a Jake Bauers potential there? Like, top prospect, contact, not a lot of exit velocity, good glove. I will say this: Kayfus has hit for more power in the minors than Jake Bauers ever did. But Jake Bauers was a more athletic player, and he was also younger. So he's my number 10 prospect, but I have questions. So I think Manzardo, for me, has the higher ceiling. Velazquez has the highest ceiling of all of them, right? Obviously. But I think Manzardo, I think he is the future at first base. And Ralphie can DH, or he can play maybe left field.
Yeah, I'm all in on Ralphie playing outfield. I honestly think by the end of the year, we're going to consider him an outfield prospect and not a first base prospect if they let him progress that way. He's, he has the arm for catcher. I wouldn't be shocked if he could figure out right. That being said, I have Kayfus 14th on my list, but I think in some world he is the he's the heir to Santana. Like if Manzardo is more of a DH, his defense at first has always been rough. If he's the DH, then like Kayfus is maybe the guy who could take over at first. Maybe it's if Bazana can push and Brito has a good year. Maybe it's Brito at first. He played first base last year in AAA. So there's some pathways. I am a big Moreno fan. He is the helium fun guy to watch in the minors this year, but he is not really anytime near anywhere near anything. He's what's the expression, like 3 years away from being 3 years away. But like Kayfus, I don't want him to be the next, he's not, because he's already further along than like the Naranjo and the Cantu and all of those like tweener first basemen. I mean, they have all of these tweener first basemen / DH types that they've drafted over the years. There's been a lot of them, and it's not worked out. We got to see if Kayfus can handle velocity. That's still the big question mark there. But I would love him to prove me wrong and kind of be the guy, because he is going to be, I think, he's a plus defender at first base. You put him there, if he could take over that position in a year and be an above average bat, then you have above average bat, above average glove for the next 5 years, and you're set. It's a matter of seeing if that can happen. I don't know. I liked his defense in college. I didn't see as much of it last year, so I could be wrong. But
first base defense is not an issue for Kayfus. It's just I don't think he has the capability. Like Jake Bauers actually was able to play some outfield. He's more athletic. He stole some bases. Kayfus doesn't have that in his tool belt.
I have him as a first.
The hard part for me with Kayfus is he has to really optimize his swing for fly balls and to the pull side, because he doesn't have high exit velocities. Manzardo and Ralphie blow him away when it comes to exit velocity. So he's a guy. He's like Juan Brito, that he has to get the ball in the air to his pull side to maximize that power. Whereas the power is much easier for Ralphie. And it was so funny last year, people talked about Manzardo didn't have enough power for first base. I think he's got enough power for first base. I'm not saying he's, Pete Alonso or Vlad Guerrero Jr., but he's got enough. Whereas Kayfus is definitely more of a fringe guy. The pressure's on the bat because, first base defense is great, but it's not as valuable if you can't hit. Like Jake Bauers, Casey Kochman, Santana's around because he walks and he's a switch hitter, and there is some power in the bat. And it'd be great if CJ Kayfus could have that career. I think for Cleveland, the best outcome is Kyle Manzardo proves himself at first base. CJ Kayfus is a little bit of trade bait, and Ralphie is the guy who is waiting in the wings and could play some left field. I know there's some people who don't think Ralphie can play left field. I'll revert you back to him playing left field for the Captains last year, and he robbed that home run. I know it's one play, but I don't think you can do that even just one time if you don't have the athleticism. Like I believe him. As far as I know, the path for Ralphie being a catcher is more David Fry. Like I think he's a guy who can catch versus a guy who's a catcher first. To me, that's how the organization I think is looking at it. So I wouldn't consider him going back to catcher anytime soon. What you can bet on is us being back in your feeds tomorrow. Jeff, I believe we're doing the prospect draft tomorrow. Is that right?
Yep, we're going to try to maybe actually knock that out tonight just because of prior commitments. But
our third annual prospect draft, we've got more position previews coming your way.
Injury.
We've got roster projection. Yes, Jeff will be team injury again, so don't draft. I think I was team injury last year.
I think you were last year.
Yeah, we'll have a mailbag here soon too, so we'll reach out to our insiders for that. All kinds of stuff with the season 9 days away. Stick around, covering your Guardians on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Appreciate you all being here every day with us talking Guardians. Like I said, it's our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it is yours too.
Your question of the day in the comments: who is the prospect that you thought was going to be successful that was not? Doesn't necessarily have to be that they were going to be big. It doesn't have to be the Matt Laportas. But it was someone you were sold on.
Alex Cole.
Like Cole at least he played a lot of years.
Alex,
like, I don't even think Alex. There's one. Alex. I remember going to Kent and Akron, and he was like a celebrity. I've got his autograph somewhere. Hey, he became an MVP in Japan. But I want to thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily, hit the thumbs up, all that stuff. Do all the things you can do to help us that are free. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you to all of our everydayers, and go Guardians, go.